Shut the front door. This DJ's gonna make you wiggle.
Ron's going back home and everybody else here too. Come back home to the Golden Show, GoldenDebateShow LAWleSS.com. Every Wednesday and every Saturday we upload one of the top 25 podcasts in the whole Golden Universe live from FEMA Region 1. Like, comment, share, and download. Open minds that empty one's home.
I can't tell one from another. I thought you by me. There was a time before we were born. Someone down there, one of those tackles.
Remember that, like, comment, share, and download. Pass it to the lab. Let's get the debate on and challenge. So that's the only sport the biggest distraction you'll hear, other than Argentina and Germany go tomorrow face each other. GBS Summer League will be balling tomorrow. So let's stop with the LeBron and the Cavs shit. Sports, you watch that shit. Only after you do your workload during the week, do a couple hobbies, live life, take care of your family, and then you can unwind with a little sports streams. So let's get it in. Live from FEMA Region 1, open minds on empty ones, Golden Debate Show. My man, 2 minute 2 is at 2 minute news from YouTube.
Welcome everyone to a news in 2 minutes breaking news update. A magnitude 6.8 earthquake has struck off the coast of Japan near Fukushima, causing multiple evacuation notices as authorities warn of a current threat of a tsunami near the Fukushima nuclear power plant. Although plant officials are not describing any known leaks or damage to the crippled nuclear reactors, we note that standard protocol surrounding the disclosure of radiation leaks and contamination is the precise and visible indication that a leak is present, followed in time by official confirmation to the public. We note that buoys surrounding the epicenter of the earthquake are currently in event mode and are seeking confirmation of an immediate tsunami threat, as officials in Japan warn all residents to remove themselves from the water and evacuate the shoreline immediately. We will continue to monitor the situation surrounding the Fukushima nuclear power plant, any possible leaks, and update as more information becomes available.
When we talk about immigrants, we talk about South and Central America. What about all the Europeans? And I think
exactly what is taking place in this border crisis.
We need immigrants.
And they're coming to find out that we are the ones who's footing the bill, paying for everything that is taking place. And now that some actual numbers are coming to the surface, some people are very upset, and they have every right to be. We all have a right to be.
There's no real conflict.
These numbers are just preposterous. They are stating that they are paying up to $1,000 per bed, using our money, to house these illegal immigrants. Do you know how expensive that is? I know all of you know how expensive that is. It's ridiculous. Per bed, this is what they're stating. They're serving up a couple fistfuls of excuses because they're stating, oh, the people don't want them here, they don't want them there, they don't want them here, they don't want them there, so we got to take them here, and these people are charging us through the roof. So that's the excuse we're getting when the government has all these facilities of their own that they've been housing them in and shipping them to and fro from. All of these other camps set up that are just sitting there. Do you guys remember all the camps that look like FEMA camps all across the United States? What about those camps? Why can't you send them there? Huh? Not us American citizens. The real American citizens here. Because they're bringing in people that I believe down the road they're going to try to dub as the new breed. The good breed that'll listen to everything they say. Take that chip. But I want you to think about it here, guys. For real. If no one wants to listen to you about the border crisis, explain to them this, that we're paying for this, and these numbers are ludicrous that are coming at us, up to $1,000 per bed, and guess what? Barack Obama just granted 7 million of them amnesty.
Between antibiotics and chronic infection, researchers from the University of Southern California and the Oak Crest Institute of Science have discovered the link between antibiotics and bacterial biofilm formation leading to chronic lung, sinus, and ear infections. The study results published in the current issue of PLOS 1, that's PLOS 1, ONE, illustrate how bacteria biofilms can actually thrive rather than decrease. When given low doses of antibiotics, this research addresses the long-standing issues surrounding chronic ear infections and why some children experience repeated ear infections even after antibiotic treatment. I know I did. I had fucking those tube things put in my ears. Said Pete Weber, PhD, lead author, senior staff scientist at USC and senior facility at the Oakcrest Institute of Science. Once the biofilm forms, it becomes stronger with each treatment of antibiotics. That's pretty interesting. Once the biofilm forms, it becomes stronger with each treatment of antibiotics. During the study, non-typable hemophilic influenza NTHI bacteria's common pathogen of humans was exposed to non-lethal dosages of ampicillin, ampicillin, a class of antibiotics commonly used to treat respiratory, sinus, and ear infections or other beta-lactam antibiotics. The dose of the antibiotic was not enough to kill the bacteria, which allowed the bacteria to react to the antibiotic by producing glycosine, a complex sugar often used by bacteria as a food source to produce stronger biofilm when grown in the laboratory. Pretty interesting. I'd like to get my ramble on. Frequency is the number of occurrences of a repeating event per unit in time. It is also referred to as a temporal frequency, which emphasizes the content and the contrast to a spatial frequency and angular frequency. The period is the duration of one cycle in a repeating event. So the period is the reciprocal of the frequency. For example, if a newborn's baby's heartbeat at a frequency of 120 times a minute, its period, the interval between beats, is half a second. Definitions and units for cycler processes such as rotation, isolations, or waves. Frequency is defined as a number of cycles per unit. In physics and engineering disciplines such as optics, acoustics, and radio, note the related concept angular frequency is usually denoted by the Greek letter omega, which uses the psi unit radius per second for counts per unit of time. Unit for frequency is the hertz. 1 hertz is an event repeated once per second. It previews let's get it in. Joe Rogan Experience clip. Check him out. The man Joe Rogan from the Joe Rogan Experience. This is the Golden Debate Show.
That's what he said. That she said that when she was hitting.
Remember, everybody spilled the shit at the same time. Just don't fuck with motherfuckers if they're babes.
And by the way, it's the Opie and Anthony thing that's going on.
Yeah, the Opie and Anthony thing. If you don't know, our friends Opie and Anthony Cumia was in New York City. And he was taking photographs, and he got a photograph of a woman. And this woman got very upset that he took a photograph of her, so some sort of an altercation took place. Some words were exchanged, and she started hitting him. So she was hitting him, and if you don't know Anthony, you don't know that he's a gun nut, like a legit gun nut, who actually has a license to conceal carry in New York City, which is incredibly difficult to obtain. But here's one strike for people who want people to have guns. Anthony never pulled out that gun. Never. He obviously felt threatened. He was getting hit by this one woman who, Anthony's a nice guy, but he is, 51 years old, loves his drinking, and I don't think he lifts weights that much. It's not like he's just like big, scary, Quentin Jackson, Rampage Jackson looking dude. He's a thin guy. He's not a physically imposing guy, and this chick is beating on him, and he's got a gun on him. I wasn't there, so obviously I don't know what the tone of the situation was. I don't know how it got started. I've read very little about it other than he went on this rampage, calling her an animal and a cunt and all this different shit. But what's hilarious is everything that he said in this Twitter rampage that they're firing him for, he said on the radio show, and they hired him for. The radio show, if you paid attention to what he said over the years and why he's entertaining and how he says it, he gets crazy about racial situations. He gets crazy about certain aspects of the African American community, and he's done it forever. And so these things that he said after getting punched, that they were surprising to Sirius, who had heard him say these things, and they gave him checks. It's kind of hilarious. And also, like, one of the things that people are pointing out all over the Twitter sphere is they're showing all these lyrics to rap songs that Sirius has aired since Anthony got fired for tweeting, and the lyrics are ridiculous.
Yeah?
I mean, oh yeah, dude, it's hardcore rap. They air hardcore rap lyrics So they've got, nigga this and suck my dick and this bitches and that bitches. And, the craziest, most radical, hip hop shit. And yet Anthony gets in trouble for this thing that he did where he went on this Twitter rampage and said a bunch of shit that I bet if someone was a real Opie and Anthony fan, you could probably go back through all the Opie and Anthony shows and piece together him actually saying those words that are in those tweets.
That Sirius makes money off of racism.
That Sirius makes money off of. Well, you know what, man? Here's the thing.
I think what happens is that these companies get really terrified of the Twitter storm that they get. Like you saw that with, you see it all the time with sponsors for Rush Limbaugh. But you see it with, or I believe conservative radio in general, you see it with, like Donald Trump had I forget what it was, a tie collection or some shit at Macy's. Then there were all these people on Twitter, like tweeting the Macy's account, like, don't support him, because I don't even remember what the issue was, but once it gets going, the company feels overwhelmed, and they're like, we have to respond because 1,000 people just retweeted this thing. And I think they just feel like the best route is the 48 Laws of Power thing, where you just put a head on the chopping block.
Watch Strimmer. Mystery surrounds 3 skulls found at a Goodwill donation bin. 3 human skulls turned up last month among the donations to a Goodwill store in Bellevue. Employees at the store located at 14515 Northeast 20th Street, that's 145 now, found the skulls in a donation bin. 2 were placed in the box and 1 was wrapped in a striped scarf. Once workers realized the skulls were human, they reported the findings to the King County Medical Examiner's Office. We got a lot of unusual donations, Goodwill spokesman Kathy Bauer said. We get people's ashes in an urn, we get people's gold teeth, and on a more positive note, last year we had someone bring in a Louis Vuitton trunk, but in this first human skull I can remember. 2 of the skulls were the type used for medical or educational purposes, and both were from adults, said Kathy Taylor, a forensic anthropologist with the Medical Examiner's Office. They had been bleached and the parts wired together. They looked like what you would think of when a skull in your biology class. The 3rd skull is more than 100 years old. It came from a Native American child younger than 10 years old, according to Taylor. The bones are very old, very dark, and very fragile. There are also cultural indications that match Native American practices. State law dictates that the Native American skull could be returned to the tribe of origin, but more information is needed to identify the correct tribe. Native remains are found from time to time, Taylor said, but usually they are found when by banks or by the water and forest erosion. In these cases, we have providence or place where we know where we had originally buried to return them to. But when no one turns up in a Goodwill, we don't have that direction to give us an idea of where to go. So that's pretty crazy. So a skull, even a medical skull, is still human remains and needs to be treated with respect, Taylor said. So you shouldn't throw them away in the trash. You shouldn't take them home, and you shouldn't collect them, and you definitely shouldn't give them to Goodwill.
He's going to work on some memoirs
Uncle
or
Adam
something
and
like
Uncle
that.
John from the No Agenda Show. This is the Golden Debate Show.
He was already back
breaking
in,
down No Agenda style. In the morning.
Back in Brazil, yeah. So that's kind of telling right there. Interesting.
You could live a pretty good life in the middle of nowhere, Brazil, if you're $5 million.
Yeah.
And now, back to real news.
And meanwhile, the Senate committee has adopted the just keeping in the snow job stuff, has adopted the cybersecurity bill, which is the witch's bill. What's her name?
Which witch?
Not the Pelosi one, the other one, Feinstein. That's the bill that this is not the Freedom for America something or other act. This is the Here's What a Journalist Is Act.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
So the committee has adopted that. Of course, that doesn't mean that it's through or done in any manner, but you know what that means. And the House, the president actually, let me see if I have this. I believe no one talks about this at all. House bill passes bill to boost Department of Homeland Security's use of social media in emergencies. Did you see this?
No.
It's sad. So this is a bill. Let me just see. It's a little congested here. This is a bill that puts together a committee which will include no less than 3 members of the social media industry. Well, let me think. What do we have? Facebook, Twitter, and what should we throw in there just for good measure? Let's throw Google in for it. Why not? Let's throw Google in. But it's no less than. So it could be 30. It could be 30. If they will call it the Social Media Working Group Act of 2014. And will be a working group. And essentially, this is to determine, review of current and emerging social media technologies being used to support preparedness and response activities related to terrorist attacks, of best practices and lessons learned on the use of social media during the response to terrorist attacks that occurred during the period, et cetera, et cetera. Recommendations to improve DHS's use of social media and to improve information sharing among DHS and its components and state and local governments and the working group, which is those companies you just heard of. A summary of coordination of efforts with the private sector to discuss and resolve legal, operational, technical, privacy, and security concerns. And, of course, this will be, the intent is for the government, Department of Homeland Security, to be able to use social media in the event of a climate change event, an event of a terrorist, yeah.
So in other words, the next hurricane is not going to be a hurricane anymore. It's going to be a climate change event. This is a good one.
And terrorist attack or threat thereof.
It could be a climate change event.
Terrorist or threat or other emergencies. It's just anything. So here's what's going to happen, people. Here's how it's going to
go. Attention. This is Lindsay Lohan's Twitter telling you to cower in place. Cower in place.
Warning, Chitty Things, buy more goods.
In Iraq
so that was the no agenda clip. This next clip is about Blackwater and how they think they can kill people. They're private contractors that go overseas and they're allowed to kill people because they're not really an army. But
the manager gloated that there was little investigators could do about it because Blackwater was so heavily involved in US work. The document indicates too that Blackwater's top manager, in a low, even tone of voice, told one of the government's agents that he could kill him without blinking an eye. State Department investigators who were in Iraq therefore had to curb any further investigation. They described staff, though, at the notorious security firm as out of control and that it was operating above the law. But the American embassy sided with Blackwater.
In Israel, is that right?
Rubber minute, everybody.
That ain't God. Matters have escalated to the point now where they're opening up the bomb shelters. 40,000 reservists have been called up. Katyushas have been fired into Tel Aviv and into Jerusalem. And I think we'll all do well to pray for the peace of Jerusalem tonight. Will you join me in prayer at this hour? Because as so goes the Middle East and so goes Israel, so goes the heart of all of us. Let's pray. Jesus, you said,
news from the president, Barack check them out on YouTube and other places.
Stands accused today
cut the line
of
for
cutting
beef.
Literally bursting into a line.
I'm just going to cut the line and get my little beef, everybody, and you can get the remnants of it. Michelle McKee and Mikhail also made their steak
for himself. It happened yesterday at Franklin Barbecue. That's just around Austin, Texas. People waiting 4 hours to eat, I'm told, but in comes the president with his taxpayer-funded Secret Service, and he makes everyone wait for him. Wait, there's more. Hussein Obama tried to avoid the wrath of the patriotic Americans whose day he ruined by paying for the lunch of the two people who he cut in front of. They then ordered 3 pounds of beef, 2 pounds of ribs, I'm told a half pound each of sausage and turkey for 4 people. Total cost $102.89. Reaction all across America was swift. Robin Smith wrote, okay, traffic is one thing, but skipping the line at Franklin Barbecue, no sir, Obama, wait your turn. Standing Frog then wrote, Obama cut the line at Franklin's Barbecue. No one cuts the line at Franklin's Barbecue. And finally, Will Franklin, our team is investigating whether he is related to anyone at Franklin Barbecue. We'll have more on that story as soon as we get the information for you. He wrote, even Anthony Bourdain had to wait in line at Franklin Barbecue, but Obama gets to cut right to the front. Weak. We'll have more on the story as it develops. John?
I don't think it's going to develop.
I don't think so either.
Do we have anything?
My country back.
My country. What happened? Where the black Muslim could just get barbecue?
Yeah. I love that guy thinks that Anthony Bourdain's comparable to the president of these United States.
Even Anthony Bourdain, a shitty host on a bad network.
Hey.
No, I like it. I like Anthony. I'm kidding. I like it.
You two got real.
Abby Martin for breaking the set. Break it down.
I do like
Anna
it.
Casper overlay for the young Turks. That's sexy right there.
Transport the
All right,
substance.
break it down, Abby
Perhaps
Martin.
no place is more aware of this fact than the town of Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. So you may remember that just over a year ago, one of the deadliest train accidents in Canada's history took place in this town, just 10 miles from the U.S. border. On July 6, 2013, an unattended freight train carrying 72 tanker cars filled with crude oil rolled away and derailed, causing an unbelievable explosion that lit up the sky with hellish fireballs. When all was said and done, 47 people lost their lives. More than 1 million gallons of crude spilled onto the streets, and 6 city blocks were completely destroyed. Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper said that the city looked like a war zone. But sadly, this tragic event has done little to stop the exponential expansion of North America's oil-by-rail system. In fact, under Harper's watch, between 2009 and 2013, shipments of oil by rail increased from 500 to 160,000 carloads a year. That's an increase of nearly 32,000%. What's most frightening, however, is that the rail tracks that run through Lac-Mégantic were not at all equipped to carry hazardous materials. And a subsequent investigation found that the type of crude on that fatal train was wrongly classified and was as flammable as unleaded gasoline. Now, it's important to note that in April, the government did remove 5,000 of the most dangerous rail cars from Canadian tracks and impose new regulations regarding the speed and structural integrity of the rail system. But when it comes to the highly dangerous nature of this material, these minor changes are a mere stopgap until the next disaster. And here in the U.S., even these slight regulations when it comes to transporting crude by train are virtually non-existent. Consider that between 2009 and 2013, the transportation of crude oil by train increased from about 11,000 carloads to 400,000. And hundreds of these cars are the exact same type of model and carrying the exact same type of crude as the train involved in the Canadian explosion. But if you think that population centers in the U.S. are safe from these type of accidents, think again. According to a recent study by the nonprofit group Forest Ethics, over 25 million Americans live within the blast zone of an oil train explosion. Now, I know many of you might be thinking this is exactly why massive pipeline projects like Keystone XL need to be built, but pipelines hardly guarantee the safety of people and the environment. Consider that according to an investigation by Global News, Alberta's pipeline system alone has averaged over 2 crude spills a day for the past 37 years. That equates to over 20,000 spills.
This don't make no sense to everybody.
These types of leaks can be catastrophic for communities like Mayflower, Arkansas, where entire neighborhoods had to be evacuated after tar sands oil flooded the town. So, if mitigating climate change, preventing toxic destruction of fragile ecosystems, and unending resource wars aren't enough to convince you that we need to rapidly wean ourselves off of this.
Let me see if I can read a little bit of shockingtimes.co.uk. Man pleads guilty to masturbating in McDonald's restaurant near shock families. 34-year-old James Scott has pleaded guilty to masturbating in McDonald's restaurant in Hartlepool. I'm guessing that's not America, after he was caught carrying out the sexual act on CCTV, which is closed circuit television. The cameras caught Mr. Scott pleasuring himself near women, children, and other customers at a branch of the famous restaurant in November of last year. Woman vows to eat only pet food for a month to prove it's good for you. A pet shop owner from Richland, Washington has made the decision to chow down on nothing besides pet food for the next 30 days in order to prove her claim that the fresh, natural food that she sells for animals is just as healthy and as tasty as human food. And I'm going to have to say it's probably just as bad. Mom becomes owner of Britain's biggest fake boobs after 30 kk breast enlargement surgery. 34-year-old Debbie DELAMAR, because I know you're going to Google it, has become the proud owner of Britain's biggest fake boobs after spending. I don't know the Britain scale, so whatever the fuck 30K it comes out to. I'm guessing that's 30 grand, but I don't know. To enlarging her ample 30HH breast to a massive 30KK. What the fuck? Her implants now weighing at a whopping 7 pounds and containing 5 pounds of silicone. If those shits bust, she's dying. Superhuman hero bends car door and saves driver from burning vehicle. A Minnesota man has been heralded a hero after he saved another driver from a burning car by bending the vehicle's door. The Good Samaritan called Robert Renning said he had no idea how he managed the superhuman feat, but he was glad that he could help the trapped motorist named Michael Jonings when adventurous sex goes wrong. According to a recent survey by an online pharmacy, 67% of Bretons believe that they are more sexually adventurous than their partners, liking to get freaky in bed. It seems we are a nation of adventurous lovers with one partner more than the other. See, I like to read this shit because it's from the other side of the globe. It's another worldly perspective, liking to take sexual adventures to the next level. But, the women in the other countries are a lot, I don't know, they say that shit, but everybody's sexual. A naked man dies of electrocution after climbing on top of a moving train, see? A man has died after electrocuting himself on a Friday afternoon as he climbed onto the roof of a moving train with no clothes on. The naked man, thought to be in his mid-20s, was a passenger on the train and climbed into the roof of the carriage as the train pulled into the Barclovia station in Australia. He died instantly. The biter strikes again. Luis Suarez is at it again. Uruguay stars appears to bite Italy defender clinch clean during World Cup of the thing, and more of that. We don't care. He tried to say he didn't do it. Shocking 20-year-old Palestinian woman gang raped, strangled, and hanged from a tree. That ain't God.
This other
fucking people are wilding out.
I don't know. This don't make no sense.
Naked sunbather causes car crash. We read that before. I'm going to say this shit. If these motherfuckers with this potato salad Kickstarter campaign goes viral, can get this much money and input and everything, I can at least get a date with Maggie Slides or at least get some fucking money. Come on, man. What started as a lark has turned into a major payday for a Columbus, Ohio man. His Kickstarter campaign for potato salad. The guy was just making his first ever potato salad as a joke, put it out there, and as of 11 a.m. Wednesday, he has raised $59,000, and he still has 24 days left to collect his donor dollars. Yes, you read that right. Zach Brown's campaign with the original goal of $10 for funding him to make his first ever potato salad. Either the 4,825 backers really like potato salad, or they're willing to just throw away their money to keep a joke alive. I'm making potato salad, he wrote in his Kickstarter pitch. Basically, I'm just making potato salad. I haven't decided what kind yet. There are different donation levels from $1 to $50. Donations of $25 are eligible for a potato salad themed hat along with a bite of potato salad, a photo of me making a potato salad, a thank you posted to our website, and I will say your name out loud while making the potato salad. Those who donate $50 to the cause will receive a recipe book of potato salad recipes inspired by each country where we have a backer along with a bite of potato salad.
And because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
So you want to flip it, you flip it out here to 50 to 1, like you share and download as much time as you can, and spread the word of the show to your friends and family. Golden Debate Show, we up out of here. Peace. Early morning mom.com. Golden Show, early morning mom.com. Free, but of course that a mess. We getting golden, son. Golden.
There's no real conflict.
Except with melting tongue to brain. There's so much conflict around here. Streamer. Golden Show, Golden Debate Show, we out of here.
Strobe lights, laser lights, look at my gold, tripping tonight, apple shit, one morning, pump it up, no, he said, we're talking like this, talking like that, we're talking, Golden Debate Show, Golden Debate Show, Golden Debate Show, we got this, we're talking hood, draw no line. And you better talk with your chest. You know what's coming out the best. Golden Show, Golden Robes, Golden Boss, Golden Sports, Golden...
Whooping with the Constitution!